Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and this is a slightly different kind of video to what I usually do on the channel, but I hope you enjoy it all the same. Tonight I'd like to talk about this article I discovered on Beasts of War. Well, on Tabletop, formerly known as Beasts of War. Look, they were good when they were Beasts of War, okay? I've been aware of this for a handful of days now, and I saw another channel actually covering this same subject matter with an article on Dicebreaker, which seemed to be somewhat less informative. And I thought, hey, I've got a bit more information here, so I might as well share it with you all. It would appear that Cubicle 7, the gorgeous, lovely people who do great role-playing games, are going to be producing a new role-playing game soon called Broken Weave. And I'd like to talk about it. And by talk about it, I mean read through the article and talk about it a bit, and maybe even show off a few things. Now, I'd like to apologise for all this crap around the screen. This is the way Beasts of War present themselves nowadays. I think all these gaps on the side are so that people can look at it on a mobile phone. And fortunately, the article has some very nice pictures. And I've found a sneaky way, something I can do to show you the pictures on the screen. It might be a little clunky, and I'm not editing this, I'm just doing it all in one push. But there's our main infographic, right? That being said, there are some other images, and I will throw them up on the screen. In fact, that's one of the nicest ones. I should have saved that for later, but hey-ho. Right. It will take me a few mouse clicks each time. Here is our first image, a beautiful picture of some kind of large, magnificent owlbear-like creature with additional beaks upon its chest, rising up from what may be a pit. We've got a warrior here, or knight, with what appear to be antlers, although we'll later find they're made of wood projecting out from his helmet. Facing off against it, there are a few other heroes down here and lots of darkness. It says Broken Weave, Cubicle 7. It's 5th edition, which is unfortunately the only major downside. I'm not a 5th edition player. I don't have much experience with 5th edition. I prefer other games, but I will play it. You know, I've played Solasta, I've played Baldur's Gate 3, but that's about the extent of my 5th edition knowledge so far. It is very popular, but I'm more of a Pathfinder and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay kind of guy. Maybe throw in a bit of Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest, bit of Elric or Stormbringer maybe, you know. But let's take a look at all this. So I thought I'd put these pictures up on the screen while I read out the information and give you my feeling on it. So this, of course, comes from Cubicle 7, the lovely people who produced the Lone Wolf role-playing game. They also do The One Ring, which is, you know, a Tolkien-inspired adventuring in Middle-earth. And I'm aware they do some other. Didn't they publish and translate the English language version of that French Viking Yggdrasil role-playing game, which had quite a few nice... I think they lost the license for that a while back, but someone produced that for the English. Anyway, I can't remember who now. So let's see what information we can find here. And also, I followed a few links to the Cubicle 7 website itself, and we'll take a bit of a look at that at the end as well. I will change through the images that you're seeing on screen as they appear in the article, mainly so you don't get bored looking at the same picture over and over again, but also so you can see everything that's shown off, hopefully within some kind of context. Alright, here we go. A new fantasy world is coming soon from Cubicle 7 via Kickstarter. Broken Weave is looking to be a fantastic setting and set of mechanics for expanding on the traditional D20 mechanics that folks will be familiar with when it comes to 5th edition. Now, I can honestly say nobody's paying me to make this. I just saw this. I saw this artwork and thought, wow, that has stirred my imagination. That's got me wanting to play a game, right? That's got me wanting to talk to people, make a story together, have some fun, 'right? 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 ' Broken Weave helps craft a world where magic is dead. Something broke in the fabric of the world, and the magic that was once used... Blah! Something broke in the fabric of the world, and the magic that was once used in every facet of life became somehow something corrupted, and now twists everything it touches. The world is now one filled with sorrow, corruption, and dread, but there are a few sparks of hope. There are a few sparks of hope left within the people that call this place home. And here we have a new image to show. Let's have some fun with that. Whoop. Whoop. And we should have a new image now on screen. So we have this kind of monstrous creature. There appears to be more than... There might be two of them. This thing like a boulder to the side. Or it has a strange cleft head with things behind. And here the writing says, tongue mimics grass. And there, on the grassy flat circular tongue, we have an axe, a shield, and a helmet, and possibly the remnants of a hand clutching the butt of the axe. The remains of some foolish adventurer who was former prey to this vile beast. Looking at the size of the shield and the axe and the helmet, I would say either the adventurer was very small or this creature is incredibly large, and the idea of it hiding behind some kind of boulder to lay a trap. I mean, you'd think you'd walk around the boulder and maybe see it. So I'm thinking, how will this creature conceal itself? Maybe it burrows down into the ground, or hides in holes in cliff faces, like clefts in rock faces and so on. Yeah, places where it will be less visible. Even so, even if it's not visible, I imagine it shoots the tongue out and kind of beats you with it. Some kind of massive bashing attack. Anyway, Broken Weave is therefore a post-apocalyptic tale. The world as you knew it, whatever it might have been, is no more, and everything that was known is slowly decaying. You've still got your classic humans, elves, dwarfs, halflings and the like, but all of them are fighting a desperate battle for survival. The people of Broken Weave come together in haven-like settlements and must search for resources to keep themselves going despite the dread and corruption all around them. In this world, Cubicle 7 are trying to do more than just send you off on another goblin-slaying adventure. And, as if on cue with the mention of goblins, this ugly creature will appear. And if you look at it, it's quite a large creature. The small creatures, climbing on its back, hanging in its hair, they look more like goblins. This thing is ginormous. And it's got tiny little legs, even if you allow for a sort of forced, exaggerated perspective with these long arms. This thing is having problems, and it must have a lot of pain balancing on those diddly little legs, using the staff to help balance itself and support itself as it crawls and claws its way painfully forwards as these minions and inhabitants live upon it, urging it forwards, almost like this is some kind of grotesque mutated goblin. Let's say all these lesser goblin creatures have fed it potions or alchemical ingredients to transform it into this great brute, and now they ride it forward. You can also see one raising his fist up into the air in victory, or is he holding some kind of cup with smoke rising from it and bits of feather sticking off the side? And this other one on top, pointing, urging the way forwards with such an exaggerated arm. I think there's a story to tell it, and this is intriguing, this is inciting. These images grasped me. As I said, they grabbed my imagination, not inspiration, and inspired me. Yeah, they got me thinking, hey, this could be a lot of fun. Although it will be Kickstarter, and I am feeling the pressures of money at the moment, so I don't know if I'll be able to afford to back this one. But let's read on. The word I'd use to describe Broken Weave is uncanny. Everything looks similar to what you know about fantasy and traditional D&D, but with a little twist here and there to make it a lot more unsettling. We've had a chat with Cubicle 7 and Broken Weave, which you'll see soon, and it's fascinating hearing about all the ways they have tinkered with what you think you know. Now, I imagine that Beast of War will put up that chat on the day the Kickstarter launches, which is not that far off now, or just the day before, or a few days into the Kickstarter. And lucky them, they've clearly got more information here than Dicebreaker managed to get hold of. Broken Weave is going to be fully compatible with 5th edition, but Cubicle 7 also announced that they are going to be focusing on tying this more distinctly into their new C7 D20 system, about which we know very little. But we do have this image here, which, while I've shown it off earlier, I'm absolutely going to show it again. So here we see the same warrior who we saw facing off against the owlbears before. I love the small religious icons hanging off the sword hilt. The wooden antlers, imitation antlers, coming out of the helmet are strange, but then when you look at the shield and see the stag skull emblem with the antlers upon it, and the battered and worn metal surface revealing the wood below, you can see a sort of, feeling almost sort of druidic tie-in here. He's got a nice big neckcloth to keep his face warm. It's kind of, there's probably some kind of gorget under there or something. I actually went and looked at the concept sketch art for this character, how it had evolved, and originally there was like a male aventail, and then they replaced that with the cloth to look more mysterious. Also, we've got the Viking eye rings on the helmet here, which make it look very much like an owl. So, C7 D20. This is literally, I think, pretty much all they've told us about it so far. A brand new system. Fully compatible with 5th edition. That's unfortunate because, there are other systems I prefer to 5th edition. For me, characters in 5th edition are far too durable, and they heal from serious long-term injuries and recoveries very easily and very quickly. There's very rarely a wound or disease with a long-term repercussion, as it's pretty much dealt with before the next encounter whenever such a thing comes up. Barring a curse or something really extreme, characters are going to be fine most of the time. In-depth character creation. I should hope almost every role-playing game has a form of in-depth character creation, apart from those ones that don't need it, like, say, Tunnels and Trolls, where you can kind of streamline it and make a character quite quickly, or the more narrative role-playing games, where you don't need to define so many things about the character because they come into turn during play. So that would be things like the Protocol series, for example, or something like, even Ironsworn has its own character creation that's fairly in-depth. You just don't sort out whole equipment lists and stuff. That's just assumed and narratively handled. Designed for all pillars of play. Now, I've been playing role-playing games since around 1991, 1992. And I definitely played fighting fantasy books since the mid-80s. I've never come across this term, pillars of play, before I saw it in this article. I did ask the other chap who'd done a video on this game, based on the Dicebreaker article, which, as I mentioned, was somewhat less informative than the Beasts of War one, about pillars of play, and it probably being some 5th edition jargon that I may not be familiar with. And he said he thought it was exploration, combat, and sort of narrative role-playing, social, sort of distinct portions of play. They've broken it down into, like, you can do this, you can do that. All of these things will be fun. And it says launching later this year. When it says launching later this year, it literally means within about a week of this article going up on Beast of War. So it's about 2 or 3 days away now. Look, we're after midnight, so technically Wednesday. Sometime on Wednesday. Now, I like this image of this warrior, right? The characters in general that I've seen from the artwork for this system, they have that sort of cobbled together post-apocalyptic, sort of very Mad Max maybe a bit of Dark Sun inspiration in there. Someone on the Beast of War website did mention Dark Sun and Ravenloft. I'm not getting so much Ravenloft from this one, though I wish I was. Ravenloft was great fun. Dark Sun, not so much. But the characters wearing the costumes, inside the costumes, look a bit too happy and healthy for the world they inhabit. You know, nice, round features, you know, no gaunt, hollow cheeks, no pockmarked skin or anything. You know, they look a bit too happy. Anyway, what else have we got here? The C7 D20 system uses a lot of the classic elements of your traditional D20 experience. So, percentile strength for exceptional strength for fighters from first edition? Probably not. But with a lot of what Cubicle 7 have learned through the creation of Doctors and Daleks, Adventures in Middle-earth, Uncharted Journeys, and what the future holds with Victoriana. Broken Weave is going to be the first big book that introduces the concepts of C7D20 before a core rulebook comes later on down the line. There is a lot for you to dive into when it comes to Broken Weave before the Kickstarter though. The blog series over at the Cubicle 7 website is fantastic and delves into monster design, character classes, art and much more. We can see how all of this was brought to life, including how the Seeker, Warden, Sage and Speaker fit into your traditional view of tried and tested D&D archetypes. I imagine the Seeker could be the Sage would be like a wizard speaker. I imagine would be like a god speaker, like the Viking Goddy. You know, the one who speaks to the gods, then speaks to the community on behalf of the gods, interpreting their words. The Warden seems to be the fighter type, so then the Seeker might be like a treasure seeker. Anyway, as I said, I've followed the link to the Cubicle 7 website, and I found this. Boop. A Broken Weave blog. There's 9 developer diaries already, going all the way back to November. Here we have the maker, who seems to be some kind of gadgeteer. I imagine, with all the little tools and things hanging off him. Front cover picture for the core rulebook, which sadly means this image will not be the front cover picture. I think this would have been a really good front cover picture myself, although possibly without these icons being so large. The speaker. I'm getting a kind of tribal shaman or priestess feeling here. The shells are it's like a recorder or whistle or flute with a shell on the end. That's nice. Which could give a feeling maybe this is a sort of bardic character with the little antler types in the hair. Again, we're getting this tribal feeling. I like that. The sage. We got this old dwarven lady here. Some kind of law keeper, keeper of wisdom. Possibly. The warden. So as I said, I went and looked at this entry. And I saw there were many iterations of the design process for the outfit of these characters. And I liked that. It's nice to see that a lot of work has got into this, and they didn't just draw the first thing they came up with. And as we go down, we see these nice traditional Viking and Anglo-Saxon shields. I like the quillons on that sword hilt in particular. Insect shield type. Driftwood rondash. That's not a rondash. This metal central part is a rondash. A rondash is a small, very round, a small round shield, a bit like a Taj. These wooden parts are additions to it, which have expanded it, so it's no longer a rondash, but while they won't necessarily hold up to much of a beating, they will reduce the chance of enemy weapons making it past the shield. And it's lighter, so it's like these larger shields, but a lot less durable, and reduces to a much smaller shield eventually. And then we see that the artwork has continued. Yeah, so here we have the male Aventails. I mean, Aventail technically, it's under the chin, and it folds up and then attaches between the eyes, usually, or it's like a veil. Having it, when it hangs off the helmet as a separate, as an integral part of the helmet, I can't remember what that's called off the top of my head. And this is pretty much getting to the final design. And then we have, broken sword. I think throwing knives are more interesting. Some nice, interesting shield types. Obviously, there's a lot of Dark Souls here, but it's not Dark Souls, right? It's not like he's wearing a pig-faced bassinet, which people seem to think is a Dark Souls iconic helmet now, even though it existed much longer. That wasn't even a pig-face bassinet, though. That was a bassinet non-pig-face, because pig-face has the conical snout. Right, anyway, I'm rambling. So then we get down to this version, and of course the colour version that we've already seen. Going back here, the Warden is here, so we have the Seeker. Might be some kind of ranger or traveller then. I can look at all of these in my own free time. We have monster mashup, so introduction to monsters. There's the gaps and broken parts in this, which is somehow being held together by magical energy or some sort of force. It is interesting, but it makes it look structurally weak and like it should fall apart, and there's something weird here, right? So there's something strange about the monsters. Creature feature. So we have a pair of nice birds. Please tell me that eyeball didn't come out of the other one's head. There's red feathers around the eyes, so I honestly can't say. Has he literally plucked the eyes out of the other bird? If so, that's very Grimm's fairy tales. And if you weren't expecting such a grisly image in this video, I apologise. I wasn't expecting it either. Measuring a broken world. This reminds me of the Blood Red Sands, a role-playing game where you're basically playing Conan-type characters in a big story. You defeat the evil sorcerer kings on the other side of the desert. It's a story in which characters are eventually eliminated from the story, and as characters are eliminated from the story, the world becomes harsher and more dangerous as the hero reaches his goal. Until finally it's one hero player playing against everyone else. It's a lovely game, really catches the Conan style and feel, gets the vibe, but the mechanics don't make a lot of sense, and you read it and you read it and you read it, and eventually it all clicks and you just realise, oh, you're just playing poker with your stats. And the whole thing about bragging and one-upping each other and stuff is actually just about goading people into upping their stake. So here we have a very apocalyptic looking scene. Hanging rocks. Or are they growing on the side of a great big snowdrift on the side of this valley? That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Than there being some big light in the sky and everything being sucked up towards it. We have this strange city growing on a massive antler. People have built their homes on it, and it's solid enough and stable enough that it hasn't come tumbling down. Antler City, it says. Well, there we go. The hunt. So, yep, a wild animal with legs that are very, very wrong. Okay. There. That's a misclick and a half I didn't expect, but you won't have seen that. So let's just come back to this image to finish. I'm intrigued by this. I'm interested. I don't know if I'm going to actively pursue it myself, but I thought a great many of you might like it. So I thought I'd do this little feature video to introduce a little bit of information. And when the Kickstarter comes, I'm not necessarily going to follow it, posting stuff about every possible update. If you're all interested and want to know more about this, I can delve into the blog on the Cubicle 7 website and do little videos on those. Although I'm sure you can follow the links and click on stuff and read stuff yourself. But if you'd like to hear my opinion as a washed up old timer, then sure. I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I really do. And if you've got any thoughts or feelings about this one, you're welcome to express them in the comments section down below. And if you'd like to see more about this game, you can request that. And maybe if a lot of you like it, I'll look at it a bit more closely in the future. For now though, as I said, I am going to leave this one here. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and I do look forward to seeing you all in the very next one, if you choose to stick around. I'm going to say goodbye for now though, and cheerio everyone. See you all soon.